May the Force be with you.
Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to Squad 224. All my Jedi, Sith, Dunkins, and Troopers, welcome. This is the Star Wars Fancast brought to you by the Comic Collectors Guild. My name is Jake. I will be your squad leader for the night. You guys know me as the Superman, and let me introduce you to the rest of the squad. Bearded Comic Guy, we got LT, we got Lee Lawson, Brandon, and Mark. You guys know as Mexican. What is up, fellas?
What's going
on?
Man.
How you doing,
man?
So we're going to be talking about everything from the galaxy far, far away, and we are so excited to bring you this new Star Wars Fancast. We're going to be covering everything from ranking the movies, reviewing them, talking about the different troops, dive deep into Jedi, Sith lore, talk about the stormtroopers and clone troops, and we can't wait to talk about everything Star Wars. So buckle in, and we're going to take a ride to the Falcon across the land of Star Wars. So I guess to get us started, let's go round robin and just let you guys introduce yourselves and just talk about how each of you got into Star Wars and kind of where your passion is within this amazing franchise. So LT, let's start with you.
Hey guys, House of Geekery here. I am a Star Wars fan geeks. I mean, since the first movie, I am old enough and proud enough to say that I went to I saw Star Wars at the first, in the theaters when it came out. And every time since, basically on top of just the mythos and the storyline, if you see behind me, I'm a big action figure guy, and the amount of action figures that came out of Star Wars alone was enough to put you in debt. So
still is.
It still is, yeah. No, a big fan. I still have a bunch of my old Star Wars figures. In fact, I just pulled out my Millennium Falcon from the first movie.
Wow, there you go.
Oh,
you take a toothbrush to that thing.
Original Chewie and Han Solo.
Oh yeah, that's what's
Oh,
up.
there you go.
Awesome.
It's
I love it.
1978, 77, I'm not sure.
Woo! Oh yeah.
Dang,
That's cool.
That's back when Greedo shot first. That's what I'm talking about.
But, I am a fan. I've been a fan forever. I mean, I'm proud to say I even got my daughter into Star Wars. When they when they did the prequels, she started there, and then worked backwards basically. Everything about Star Wars, it's been a part of my life. There's too much to say about it.
No, absolutely. I'm with you. And that is, we're going to call you Darth Beard for the rest of the night. So appreciate it, LT. Ian, what about you, bud?
Yeah, so, I remember my stepdad having me sit down and watch the original three, when I was a child. And then I got to do the prequels in the theaters. And, that's what really jump-started, watching those with Darth Maul. And, that's where I guess my real love started was, seeing him. He was such a beast, and it's just grown since then. And now, my son with the new trilogy, he's fallen in love with that, and BB-8 and all that. It's been really cool with him, and then collecting as well. I had growing up, I had a cool Millennium Falcon, and I used to shove everything in and all that, so it was fun. And it evolved into, the Black Series now and Funko Pops and everything. I've actually got out of it because it just got to be too much. It was it's a very big fandom, and, people are pretty crazy about those figures. So I just removed myself so that, big collectors can have at it, and I'm not in their way. But, I've been a fan, my whole life of it. It's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And your wallet probably definitely appreciates that.
Yeah.
Mark, I see that big Falcon back there. So obviously your wallet is not as lucky.
Yeah.
But that is awesome. Why don't we talk about Star Wars for you?
My mom actually got me into it. She's probably the reason why I'm such a gigantic nerd. I think, I found Batman first, but then, she had me watch Star Wars and the originals on VHS. And then we went and I saw the special editions. I saw all those in theater. And then as the prequels came out, and I don't think there isn't one Star Wars I don't think I've not seen in theater. So I'm pretty excited about that. Um, yeah, same. My collection is before I got into figures and Funko and all that, I was doing these Force Effects lightsabers. I've got about 13 of those. Um, and then went down the rabbit hole of figures and stuff like that. But Lego figures, pins, like you name it, I gotta have it. It's a thing for me because what I've found over the years for Star Wars is it's not just about these awesome characters and all the lore and everything. It's about family as well. And outside of the movies, I've met some of the coolest people through
Nice.
this fandom
That's good.
that I now call, brothers. Like, they'll call me and say, "Hey, we need to go hide a body," and I say, "Whose car are we taking?" So that's the kind of relationships I've built just from this fandom. So
You sound like Sith.
I was gonna say he sounds like a bounty. He sounds like a
Yeah,
bounty
so I
hunter.
thought you were. I was totally
So we gotta-
misunderstood. Yeah.
Mark, are you working for Boba Fett?
We have a
this
Mandalorian,
is
guys.
bounty hunter.
There you go. There you go. Lee, what has Star
Well, so-
Wars been to you, my man?
Oh man, for me, much like LT, I was someone who got to see them in the theaters, and so it was telling a story that was just fantastic. I mean, for me to be able to, first of all, just be taken it literally, I felt like I was into a galaxy, a long time ago, to a galaxy far, far away, watching that film. And I remember I've said before that Chewbacca really grabbed my attention. I mean, you know what I mean? He really did as a kid. And I had all the toys. I had all the, there you go. I had that. When you pulled out the Millennium Falcon, man, when you pulled out the Millennium Falcon and showed me Han and Chewie sitting there, I was like, yep, that's what's up. Because I loved that. But yeah, I loved the movies and the story that it told. As I said, for me, I got to experience, spoiler alert, that fact that Darth Vader is Luke's father. I got to really experience that in the theater, and Empire was something that, to see that as a movie, the good guys got their butts kicked the whole film, and so to really be experiencing that and watching that and saying, whoa, these guys who were just dominating basically in the first movie. I mean, they lost Obi-Wan, but hey, he was old, but to see I mean, I didn't understand the importance back then, but now I do. But but to see Empire especially, which is still now my favorite movie. You know what I mean? It really is. Out of not just my favorite Star Wars movie, but really, I think one of my favorite movies. My favorite movie, out of all movies, because to experience that, see the good guys literally get their butts kicked the whole film. To see Han, who I knew they were going to catch before, Boba Fett took off. I knew for sure they were going to catch, because that's just what happened. I mean, that's what happens in movies and in shows at that point in time. They caught, they figured it out. They won. They didn't in this film. So that movie and just Return of the Jedi, I just fell in love with all the characters and have been a fan ever since. So that's my story.
That is awesome.
I love them.
That's awesome,
Absolutely.
Lee.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon, what about you, my man?
So obviously, I haven't seen any of the original trilogy ones in the theater, obviously. But I started with 4, 5, and 6 with my uncle. There was always this running joke, or not joke in the family. It's what bonded us. And if he's watching, I already told him I was going to be on this. He thinks it's the coolest thing ever. So big shout out to him. He's what got me into Star Wars. He got me into 4, 5, and 6, and he was always like my master. So still to this day, we have that master Padawan that's how we address each other. So it's like a cool bonding thing for us that we'll always have. So that's the thing about Star Wars is, like Mark said, it's a bond that you will share forever. Whether you started with the original trilogy or the prequels or even this new trilogy for the younger kids, we're all sharing that same love because everything in Star Wars is always tethered to each other. And that's the thing that I love most is each character you can learn something and relate to. You know, like Anakin is probably the biggest role model to me from the Clone Wars. That's what I grew up on, was the show that actually just ended, because it went on for 12 years, much of my childhood. So Anakin has always been frowned upon. He's always been seen as like immature, explosive. And sometimes in a social group, I'm going to dig a little deep here, but that's how people see me, is they don't see the insight I have until you have a conversation with me one-on-one. It's like, oh, that's that young, 19-year-old. He doesn't know what he's doing. But, you talk to me, you get to know me, and I'm one of the most insightful people that, and that's why I'm able to make friends with older people such as you guys. And I kind of relate to Anakin with that struggle of people acknowledging him and what he can actually do. Not only as a leader, right, but as a person, as a well-rounded person. So that's my spiel about. That's why I love Star Wars the most.
Oh, that is fantastic.
You were saying that, and your wire looks like a Padawan braid.
Oh
yeah, exactly. There you go. There you go. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean,
I love it, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. For me, the piggyback for the same. I was introduced to Star Wars early on through my dad. He was a huge Star Wars fan, so I didn't get a chance to see the original trilogy in theaters, but watched them at home and just fell in love with it. I think I was introduced with like Batman and the animated series and stuff like that, where you fall in love with characters. But this was really the first franchise where you just get swept away by the universe, like just seeing space and all these planets and all these creatures, and it was just so different from anything I had seen. So that's really what it gravitated to. And then, when the prequels came out, to what you said, to see young Obi-Wan and then see Darth Maul and to see that Duel of the Fates lightsaber battle, like I was just mesmerized in the theater.
Hey, don't sleep on Qui-Gon. Don't sleep on
Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon's a beast. We're going to get to Qui-Gon. He's a beast. But to see that Duel of the Fates, which is still one of the best lightsaber battles there is, but immediately hooked. And then obviously what's cool about Star Wars is, my dad has, like an original stormtrooper from the original trilogy that's like a 12-inch figure. Now I have it. And, it's something I'll hold on to and I'll pass it down. So it gets passed down through generations, whether it's the original trilogy all the way to the new ones. We got, nice Black Series and lightsabers as well. So I'm trying to dip my toes into Star Wars collecting, because I know once I go all in, it's going to be a nightmare for my wallet. But it's just an incredible franchise, and I love it. And to your point, you connect so many relationships and meeting people through this galaxy, and it's probably the biggest fandom and most passionate fandom, I think, of all the major franchises out there, good or bad. Yeah. So, and I think we should touch on that. So obviously, I think it's kind of going out being said that Star Wars is the biggest, and certainly the most important franchise in the history of cinemas. And now it's, gone into comics and TV shows, all of that. So what do you guys think about kind of the state of the importance of Star Wars throughout the years and what it's done for, franchises like Marvel and DC and Transformers and all these franchises now? But Star Wars is really what started it. So
honestly, if there was no Star Wars, there would be none of these other film franchises.
Exactly.
Because ILM created all these worlds that you've just mentioned, Transformers, Marvel. ILM works on all those, and without Star Wars, none of this would be possible. I'm sure somebody else might have come along and done it, but because ILM was the first, George Lucas started this company, we can get all this other cool stuff that we love right now. So the importance just alone on that is, a gold mine. But on top of that, it kind of lays the roadmap for everything. Like, this is how, you should structure these things with a trilogy and everything like that. And then building in all that lore kind of sets up everything too with all these other franchises and stuff.
Absolutely. Lee, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I was going to just absolutely agree with him that they, without ILM, it wouldn't be there. I mean, they created all of these effects for these movies. You know what I mean? That's why George Lucas is such a visionary, and all these other franchises were born. So I mean, there's no other franchise as important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have a movie series that's spanned what are we at 40 years now?
40 years.
you know, and they all connect and they all intertwine and all that stuff. And, you know, they've shown, you know, Lucas showed it, I mean, the first 6 that, you know, is possible, and to connect all these. And, you know, now you look at Marvel that did the whole MCU and did the same type of thing. But if they didn't have something like that, I mean, that was the first like real successful series, especially with the trilogy. And then you go into the prequels. What was that? 20 years later, 15 years later, that they did the prequels. You know, and that was so successful. You know, so what they did, the continuity and everything, it was incredible.
Yeah, and I think, you know, for me, I remember I even go back to when I saw The Rise of Skywalker in theaters on opening night. Like, it's the only franchise I think I've been to where I've seen people literally ages 6 to 70, and they're all like connected by this franchise over the year, and it's to different characters. And I remember, like, at the very end of Rise of Skywalker, when she's on Tatooine, and we see like Luke's, you know, Skywalker Ranch and everything, like, just so many people were just like emotional and crying just seeing this spot, and it's people of all ages. So it's just a rare thing. And LT, I know you know, I'd mentioned you saw the, you know, or were lucky enough to see A New Hope when it first came out. Can you talk about a little bit about, you know, effects wise, just visually, when you saw that first movie, what that was like compared to like other movies that had come prior?
Just the sheer magnitude of the story is what really, you know, drew me to it and kept me on. I mean, little did we know when we saw the first movie, A New Hope, that there was really a backstory. You know, we didn't even know that there was a backstory to that, like the Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, we're going, generations back. I mean, of course, we didn't know any of that. You know, and the story continued today, all, you know, from A New Hope. And now, you know, after this last movie, they're talking about, you know, a whole new trilogy based, you know, not off the Skywalker story, but a new story, you know, still with the rich history of Star Wars. You know, it's just, to me, the storyline is like never ending. You always learn something new about the story. I mean, I think I'm a fan, but I've got other friends that will like put me down as far as, you know, knowledge, and I'm okay with that because I want to learn. But I mean, basically, seeing the first movie, seeing the second, seeing the third, I mean, I remember where I was, and I remember the feeling. I remember part 2 just freaking out that the bad guys won. I don't think I'd ever see a movie that the bad guys won. You know, seeing the third one, episode 6, Return of the Jedi, you know, where they were redeemed. You know, I don't think at that time, maybe as a kid, at part 6, did I ever think there would be a part 1, 2, or 3, let alone 7, 8, 9 later on. So, I mean, what kept me going was the storyline, and, you know, yeah, the rest is, you know, is history, because there's a lot of history to it.
And I think it's crazy is, like, you know, with all these superhero movies and things like that, like, they usually, you go back to comics and like when they started and there's like a storyline they're following or whatever. Star Wars, what's the crazy thing about it is they've really just scratched the surface as far as where they can go within this thing. I mean, we're within the Skywalker, but they have Knights of the Old Republic they can go back to. They can go back to, you know, how the Sith got started, how the Jedi got started. I mean, there's so much more that's untapped and so many worlds we haven't seen. And I think that's the most exciting part is, you know, for decades, they're going to be able to come out with new content.
We got The Mandalorian going right now with a whole other story, you know. It doesn't really involve, you know, the main storyline of the Skywalkers. And, you know, everyone has their own story.
Yes. That's actually my favorite part about Star Wars. Star Wars is my gateway drug. I call it my gateway drug into the whole fandom because it was my first. But with me personally, you cannot mess up a Star Wars movie. If you mess it up, I'll be pissed for about a year. That's why I think I should be getting over Solo within the next few months. I don't know, but
So you were
other
not a
than
fan of
that,
Solo? You did not like Solo at all? That was nothing that you...
okay, it's weird because when you see Harrison Ford dying as Han, and now you're seeing another Solo actor, it's just like it was bad timing. I think it was bad timing. I'm waiting for it to drop on Disney Plus, and then I'm gonna relook at it with fresh eyes.
There you go.
On Netflix.
Yeah, I've only
What
seen
LT,
it once.
yeah, like what LT said about you can never run out of Star Wars stories. The things that I noticed with like some Spider-Man and some Batman books is a lot of it you can compare, or like writers will use the same arc. Like in Batman, Death of the Family by Jim Starlin, Scott Snyder's Death of the Family, kind of similar, just different Robins. You know, with Star Wars, it's like you have so many years to go. You can always tell an Old Republic story. Because we haven't gotten enough of Valorum in like film or anything or comics, really. You can tell anything from the Clone Wars. You can tell anything from any gap. There's so much room, right? Because there are so many. You can even tell a spin-off story from people of the Council. Like, you know how much they can do with Mace Windu alone that we haven't seen? And then think about like bringing Quinlan Vos into it or giving us more of these Jedi that we haven't seen. I'm going to save the rest of my Jedi talk for a later episode because I can go on for days.
Yeah. If you guys are interested, I've been getting really into the other stories outside of the Skywalker story, and
Yeah.
it is kind of connected to the Skywalker story, but a certain point of view, the book is incredible because it's 30 chapters from like all these side characters that you see in the background of A New Hope, and it's the story from their point of view. So we're getting stories from like the Mouse Droid and TK421 and
cool.
Jawas and R4, the red one that blows up before they buy R2, and all kinds of stuff like that. So I highly recommend that one. And then when Brandon was saying with Quinlan Vos, Dark Disciples is a really good story with Quinlan and Asajj Ventress. Highly recommend.
For sure, yeah. And I mean, I know like the Thrawn series is like really popular. We've gotten like the Leia and Phasma's books, and I mean, it's just crazy how many, like whether you play games or read a book, or they have like the Vader comics, and there's just so many ways you can learn about this world. Well, go ahead, Lee.
Let me ask you guys this. So, kind of switching gears a little bit. When Disney announced the first sequels, when Disney acquired them, they were making sequels.
Oh, The Force Awakens?
Yeah, The Force Awakens. What was your expectation? Were you guys hoping to see a continuation of the story of Han, Luke, Leia, you know what I mean, and those guys? Or were you surprised by what they did with it? I'm just curious as to what your thoughts are on that.
I was kind of hoping to see more.
I have a reason to ask a question. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was hoping for more, not of a complete new era, kind of like a continuation of like the newer Jedi, like what Luke wanted to start. I didn't know that, again, we would start from scratch. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of disappointing. I was expecting much better graphics, which I got, but I didn't really expect the fact that the plot, which just wasn't there. There was no plot. I feel like they just redid these 3 episodes just to sell the name Star Wars, and it's like when the fans end up writing the next 2 episodes based off their complaints, then you pitch it to George Lucas and he says redo the movie. It's just I was a bigger fan of The Force Awakens because it had to be good, but then the last 2 it was a downhill slope from there, but.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I remember the first time I saw the Force Awakens trailer, like I had goosebumps. It might be one of the best trailers I've seen as far as just I went nuts because it was like Star Wars was back at that point. And for someone my age who didn't get to experience the original trilogy in theaters, this was it. It's like I'm going to see Luke, I'm going to see Han, I'm going to see Leia in the theaters. Like this is going to be epic. I'm a little bit different. I'm not the biggest fan of The Last Jedi. I really liked Force Awakens, and I'm actually really, really liked Rise of Skywalker. I was all in. I didn't mind the fan service stuff. I did not mind any of that stuff at all. I just wish we got more Luke, and how the treatment of Luke was portrayed. And obviously episode 9 was so much retcon to episode 8. So my biggest thing was just I wish JJ would have got all 3 movies, because I think it would have went a lot differently. But overall, I mean, I was all in. I was a big fan of pretty much all of them. And even 8, I appreciate the fact that Rian Johnson tried to like do something different and like confuse us. It's just the risk he took just didn't work. But I don't know, Ian, what do you think?
Yeah.
So I was, Force Awakens came out and I was excited. Star Wars was back, yada, and I enjoyed the movie, and I kind of just adopted it. It's like, okay, this is what we're gonna get, and I have a lot of nerdy friends, and I was I went back to college right when we were in between the 2 movies, and I was going through all the theories of who Snoke was, and was it Mace Windu, and was it this person?
Was it Jar Jar?
It was super exciting.
It's always Jar Jar.
Right.
I was back into all the different theories and the rabbit hole and collecting again and everything. So it was super exciting. And then I had my friends that just didn't like it, and we would conversate about it, and they got their hopes up because it was they had their expectations too high on it's going to be Luke, and it's going to be this, and it's going to be this, and now you got what's their face in it now, and it's just it was just completely different. BB-8, and it was just Disney had their hands around it, and they made it more Disney than what we were used to, especially going from the prequel. The prequels, even when you look at like the way that the prequels like transitioned into other scenes and all this stuff, it just had a feel to it. It was just Star Wars. It was, they could jump from planet to planet, just super cool. And with this trilogy, it just didn't have it. It just didn't feel it. But
yes,
I still loved every minute of it. I still feel like it was part of the history. And again, with my son, he made me enjoy a lot more because he got just as excited as I was when I watched the prequels. So that gave me a lot more love for it. And because now he's a huge fan, he can point out all these things, and he's watched the original ones with me and loved it. Never complained that it's crappy and all that. You got a 6-year-old watching a movie from the 70s where a stormtrooper bangs his head on the roof. He still loved it just as much as I did. So that's where my feelings are with it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mark, what about you?
I piggyback off of what Ian was saying. Like, it does feel really different, the Disney era from the Lucas era. So much so that lightsabers kind of feel out of place. I've always felt like when they popped up in Force Awakens, you're just like the lightsaber fight and everything. It felt weird, felt foreign, which was definitely threw me off a bit. But I still remember the day, like, it was announced that George Lucas had sold Star Wars to Disney for $4 billion. And like, I was shaking. Like, they're talking about making 3 new movies and more on top of that. And J.J. Abrams is coming in to direct, and we're going to have the original actors back. And I'm
It's exciting.
freaking out.
We got 30 minutes of the original actors back.
But and what Jake was saying, the first trailer comes out, I'm tearing up when I'm the Falcons like flipping and doing all this stuff, and I'm like freaking out. And
Chewie, we're home.
Yeah, it's the expectations. I didn't have them. I just kind of wanted more, and Force Awakens set my expectations for the rest of it. So it's like, okay, we're not going to get exactly everything, because it's meant to be a passing of the torch. This is the new era. Yeah. This is something that we, the new generation gets to have their original trilogy now in these sequels. And, I was okay with that. And the characters that they set up were amazing. Me being Hispanic, I was over the moon to see, a Hispanic actor be the lead, one of the leads.
Yeah.
And, Rey and Finn, they're both amazing. And the Force Awakens within the first 5 minutes sets the tone for everything.
Yeah.
Zanteca says this will begin to make things right, and then Poe starts cracking jokes with Kylo Ren. I'm like, this is gonna be great, and I was just along for the ride. I didn't try to go into it all judgy and stuff like that. Not saying anybody is. I'm just saying this is how I experienced it, and I had a really fun time, and I'm still ready for more.
Yeah. LT, what about you, man?
Well, I did, and I adored the last three movies. The last three, I was still old school about wanting the expanded universe stories. Like Mark said, the next generation. We should have seen the kids of these people, not just, excuse me, Ben Solo. We should have seen Jaden and Jason, Ben Skywalker, what's Chewbacca's nephew?
Lil Chewy?
Chewy Jr.
Chewie Jr., whatever. But he's starting to train as a Jedi. I would have loved to see that next generation of Skywalkers, of Solo, and the start story. And we just got a whole new cast with only one direct descendant.
Well, here's the thing. I think that my opinion is this: that I feel like as much as I enjoyed these Star Wars films, I feel like Disney did fumble the ball with them. And let me explain why. It's because they acquire Star Wars, and then they immediately say everything, all the other stuff, mythology out there that's been built around these movies is gone.
Is gone, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Is gone. All this other stuff that you guys know and love is gone. And we're just going to act like none of this ever happened and then jump to this part, skip all the interesting stuff that I think as fans we kind of wanted to see. Brandon, to your point, see Luke, what he did, not just these flashbacks with Kylo, but see him starting the Jedi. Did you guys ever read the Timothy Zahn novels at all?
Yes.
So, I mean, know what I mean, that which is now just null and void now.
Can they make a Thrawn movie now?
It's got it, but they don't. So basically, I'm saying they destroy all mythology, but then didn't give us anything else. Yes, I loved the movies. I did. Yes. You know what I mean? But I was one of the people who really thought when they announced the original cast, even that snap! I mean, they are going to really show me a continuation of what I want to see. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even if they had to de-age the people, their sister Marvel have done some fantastic de-aging. You know what I mean? Even if they had to de-age them just a bit, if they're going to sign up for the movie, I just think there was again, I love these movies, but I think there was some missteps that Disney took. And I think I honestly do believe that if they could redo it all again,
they would.
I think they would probably do it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because,
the thing is that I really think that Disney needs to set up Kevin Feige with Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni should be running all this because
Jon Favreau too.
No,
John Favreau.
I mean, he can help. Yeah, but I think Dave Filoni needs to be the guy because
I think he understands George Lucas's vision.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is that he is George Lucas's protege.
Yeah,
and there's a series going on Disney Plus right now. Where
I know what you're getting at. Episode 2. And
episode 2, like he talks about it in a way that you didn't even think about. And you
didn't. The Duel of the Fates comment. It was like a mic drop. I was like,
it's an incredible. It's very incredible experience. Just listening to Dave Filoni talk about anything Star Wars because he has such a deep knowledge because he did learn from the maker. So I really think that Kathleen Kennedy needs to set Dave Filoni up to be the Kevin Feige of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
so, and honestly, but the thing is too, like. Lee, I feel you, man. That sucks losing all that history that you love, but at the same time, it makes it more digestible, and they can make their stories, and they can bring new people in because they don't have to know all this stuff. It's like the New 52 or something like that, like starting over from zero and like, okay, this is what's going to be canon, and all that other stuff. You can still go and enjoy that. It's just not going to be canon anymore.
I think what Lee was trying to say, and I agree with him, is as a Star Wars movie, when you look at it as Star Wars, is not really Star Wars. But when you just sit down and say, hey, I'm going to enjoy this movie, you're going to enjoy it instead of having our Star Wars mindset when it comes to something like the Clone Wars, where we have to think about it. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's
Well, yeah, I think they
enjoy it
just
as a
jumped.
movie, not a Star Wars story.
I'm also saying they just jumped and to having Return of the Jedi where the Rebels win, and we don't get to see anything except for really them being back in the exact same
Yeah,
position
they're back down in the
years later.
dumps.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
With the exact same. Nothing. I mean, they don't call themselves the Rebels anymore. What are they? The
The Resistance.
Resistance. You know what I mean? So they. I
The
mean,
Resistance.
they're the Resistance. I
Yeah,
mean, so
I think
again, I'm not hating on films. I love them. I own them. You know
Oh,
what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I watch them. I've watched them numerous times since these new ones. These are just little points that I enjoy discussing and just clear
Oh,
some
yeah,
y'all's
definitely.
elsewhere as well.
I mean, for me,
You know what I
Star
mean?
Wars, Star Wars to me is like they have the ultimate damn if you do, damn if you don't, because no matter what they do, there's going to be a group of people that are pissed off about it. Like they could have done a Luke, Han, and Leia, and there's going to be a new group like, could you give us somebody else? And then if they do other people, there's going to be people that are like, you know, give us more Han, Luke, and Leia. So I try to go into it not with the movie I wanted, but like
Right.
just appreciate what they give you, and I think it lets it open up. But I like to, because what Mark said kind of sparks my interest in my next question. I think would be interesting is, say you're getting the golden ticket right now and you have control to do whatever you want with Star Wars. What executive decision would you make, and what direction, as far as where would you want to see them go with this next set of movies going forward? Because they're obviously going to have to do something after 9. Mark, I'm with you. I would immediately have Dave Filoni as well as Jon Favreau head Lucasfilm. Like they should be in charge of all of it. I think Favreau, from a point of view of, I think he just understands, because being a part of the Marvel universe and doing some of the, I think he could handle like the business and the franchise aspect, and then let Filoni do his magic with Lucasfilm, because he understands George Lucas's vision. To your point, if you've never seen that little Mandalorian behind the scenes roundtable episode 2, he drops bombs of like mic drop information. It's unbelievable. But
he takes
a big geek. He's
big time. Yes, absolutely.
So
Filoni takes
guy
Duel of
that
the
he's out
Fates
to make money.
full circle.
Yeah, absolutely. I never thought about Duel of the Fates. I never thought about what he said until, you know, after I was like, holy crap, like that makes sense. But
I'm gonna watch it right after this. So.
It's unbelievable. LT, let's start with you though. You're given the keys to Lucasfilm. Are you making any executive moves? And then as far as your next series of movies, where do you want to see them go?
Well, there is a movie, there's a story that I've always wanted to see, visually see, and that was the story between Empire and Jedi. We're talking about Shadows of the Empire. That story was phenomenal. I would have loved to seen, Prince Caesar or Zizor, I forgot how you got to pronounce it, versus Darth Vader. I mean, Darth Vader was, basically, took him down because Caesar wanted to kill Skywalker, and here comes Daddy just said, no, that's my son, you better not. I mean, the whole story to Dash Rendar, we didn't have Han because that whole time he was frozen in carbonite. We had Leia. We had, that's a story I would love to have seen, or maybe even with the state of digital movies now, as far as rendering. I would have loved to see. I would love to see that story. I would try to have that made. As far as stories afterwards, I don't know. Right now my money's on Mandalorian, so I would invest in that. You're getting every other day. We're getting new information of new guest stars. We just got information that we're going to see Boba Fett, and his story was very much unresolved in Jedi, and everyone hated that. The baddest ass guy in the galaxy, and he just
falls into
a blind Han just knocks him out. No, I would, like as a Keys to the Kingdom, it would be solely right now on the Mandalorian and Shadows of the Empire.
Ian, what about you?
So I would love to see more of the stuff that's happened in Clone Wars. I haven't finished it, and Rebels as well. And I've read a couple books and whatnot. But my dream story is to get to see the whole Darth Maul sequence in a movie. We got to see him in Solo, in the hologram and everything, and that got me so hyped. And I've read some of the comics with them, and I've watched them in Clone Wars and whatnot, and with his spider body thing, all that is so freaking cool, and I want to know more. And I've heard all the stories about his mother and I think sister and whatnot. Like, it's just so exciting. I want more of it, and with that comes a lot more of people that we've encountered, and to just expand off of it. We got that Solo movie, we got the Rogue One, and I really liked Rogue One. I think
Amazing.
It was
Oh,
exciting.
oh my
Yes.
gosh.
It was
That
exciting.
was
It renewed my faith in Disney Star Wars.
They did a great
Right.
job with that movie.
Oh
That
my
movie-
gosh.
Yeah, so
Just everyone-
these side one-shot movies, give them all one. I think that would be awesome to
That'd
see.
be dope.
Well, Solo
I'd-
killed
I'd,
that,
uh,
though, man.
yeah,
Solo
well, I'd
killed
honestly-
that whole one-shot thing.
I would like to see a little bit of Darth Maul in the Obi-Wan
series.
Yeah.
It could definitely happen.
Be awesome. Yeah.
It might be a little forced depending on where they're going with the Obi-Wan movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you look at where Maul is, and he's so tethered to Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars and then in Rebels, not to spoil anything for you, Ian, but Maul and Obi-Wan's relationship is still prevalent.
Right.
So
Yeah.
with that happening in the animated films, to bring it live, it will kind of feel, I don't know. It depends on where everything is.
Yeah.
Don't crap on my dream, Brandon.
There you go.
I'm not crapping on it, but I'm just
Lee.
saying, watch Rebels, and your dream will be fulfilled.
There you go. Lee, what about you, man?
Wow. It won't be any surprise for anybody who's listened before. I mean, if we had to really see something on film, I would love to really see a continuation of what happened between, or at least something in between, Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. If they're going to take all the mythology away, then give me some stories about what happened then. If you're going to wipe all that clean, then show me what happened during that time. I would like to see that. Something like that, as far as that, I also would like to see. I was really excited about them doing one shots, like Ian was saying, but I unfortunately really Solo did crush that. They had so many plans. If that had worked, we would have had a lot more, expansion of seeing these stories that I think we all want to see on the big screen. Luckily, we do have Disney Plus now. And I think maybe we'll, Obi-Wan's going there, so maybe some of their other plans. Maybe we will get the Boba Fett story there. Well, actually, we are, right? Yeah, on Mandalorian, as you just said. Yeah, you just said that, yeah. So I don't know, yeah, but I really would have liked to have seen something in between that and there. And if you're going to do outside of that, then kind of what their plans are now when they hired. I would imagine they've got to do something, in the whatever call it war back in the, oh my gosh, help me, Knights of the Old Republic.
The first Mandalorian War?
No, is that the Knights of the Republic story?
Yeah.
Isn't that,
Yeah, in Mandalore. Where they first introduced the Darksaber.
Okay, yep.
There you go. Speaking of, there you go, Mark.
Hey!
You were handed the keys of Lucasfilm, sir. What are you doing?
You also handed the keys of Mandalore.
All right. So, like we were saying, point Dave Filoni as our Kevin Feige. And then immediately start development back on Star Wars 1313. Now, Lee was talking about all the lore that got canceled. I was most upset about them canceling this game, 1313. It was going to be on Coruscant on level 1313, and it was going to be about Boba Fett, and it was going to play like Uncharted. And I was stoked. I was over the moon. I was like, I can't believe it's going to happen. There's still a tech demo out there. They don't have Boba Fett as the character because they were trying to tease it a little bit, but it has since been confirmed that it was going to be about Boba.
Oh man,
and it is. Oh, it's so good, man. It's so good.
That does sound awesome.
Whoa!
Check out that trailer. And then we were talking about the Mandalorian. I would and how awesome it is because it's unique in its own thing, I would keep it that way. I am excited to see these live action characters with Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, and Rex or Boba Fett, but I don't know if it's gonna take away from that uniqueness that is the
movies.
Mandalorian. Keep it separate.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do something else with these characters that can do them justice. Don't try to shoehorn them in and make this Rebels 2.0.
Yeah, that makes sense. For me, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, and that's it. I'm excited for the High Republic to see what they're going to do with that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then I would go post Episode 9. See what the universe is after that.
Yeah.
And then Lee.
New Republic. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe Rey. We get the story we wanted for Luke, and she starts trying to find Force sensitive. But Lee, I don't know if you're a gamer or not. Check out the Battlefront 2 campaign. It's set between Force Awakens and Return of the Jedi.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go. For me, picking up a lot, I like the idea of these one-offs that you're alluding to. What I like about Obi-Wan being on Disney Plus is where in a movie you're going to get it for 2 hours. On Disney Plus, you're going to get 8 episodes for you're going to be able to dive a lot deeper. So I like these one-offs going onto Disney Plus. If there's a character that I'd like to get that one-off, I'm actually going with Revan. I think, dude, it's the baddest Jedi at one point and the baddest Sith at one point. I mean, like, that's an interesting story, and he's gone back and forth between the two. I think that would be cool, and I like the idea of going backwards. I like seeing there are so many stories I want to see. All of what you guys said I would love to see on the screen, but for me, I would love to see, like, how did the Jedi and the Sith get started? Like, have a movie called The Rule of Two where it's like Darth Bane, and I'd love to see how that happened. I would love to see Knights of the Old Republic. So that would be where I would go, and then have the one-offs on Disney Plus.
That's been one of the more interesting things recently to come out is the deep lore stuff with the Force in Rebels and in Fallen Order. You're getting like these super deep, like going super deep dives into the Force and how it came about, and watch Rebels.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think too, seeing like an adaptation of the Thrawn series would also just be epic. I think part of what's cool about Rogue One is you get a little snippet of like Vader. Like, granted, he wasn't in his prime, but like they show him more powerful, like he would be in his prime. So I would love to see like Vader as like his full out, like, just bad, just like the Vader fan series that like Star Wars Theory did. Like, that was incredible. So something like that would be awesome. But I think the most important thing is, what do you guys think? What would be, the Star Wars universe that you guys would create? What was your fondest memory of Star Wars, and how did you get into it? We would love to know what you guys think. Please leave a comment and hit that subscribe button. You can listen to us also on Google Podcasts as well as Spotify. And always check out the website at www.comiccollectorsguild.com. We are going to be coming to you with so much more Star Wars. We're going to talk about the collecting aspect of it, review each movie as well as some of these TV shows, games, books, and recommend anything that we know in the world of Star Wars. And guys, I appreciate talking Star Wars with you. Squad 224 is signing out, and may the Force be with you guys always.
May the Force be with you.
Hi, this is Will Friedle, the voice of Terry McGinnis on Batman Beyond, and I want to welcome everyone to the Comic Collectors Guild. And whether you're a comic lover, collector, or fan, you can visit them at comiccollectorsguild.com. Remember to always keep hunting.